and also does some baseball, college football, basketball work for Fox Sports. Vasu, welcome to ATL Prime Sports, my friend.
How you doing, Todd? Good to talk to you. We've had a couple of conversations. I'm glad you reached out to me. I'm glad to be on your show. I'm glad to be part of the family of the Stables Network. So good to talk to you.
It's always great talking to you. Speaking of making the money, the players in MLB better take the owner's deal that they're giving them and run. The deal is for get the salary for half the season. There is no prorated salary. The MLB players, they're not happy because they're not getting a prorated salary. They're also getting 50-50 of the revenue sharing. And Rays pitcher Blake Snell said he refuses to play for reduced MLB salary. Quote unquote, I got to get my money. I'm not playing unless I get mine, okay? He went on saying he's not risking his life playing Major League Baseball. Your thoughts on that?
Well, there's a lot to break down here. First of all, on Blake Snell's part, I get where he's coming from. I get where he's coming from a health standpoint. Nobody wants to put themselves in that position. I don't think any of the leagues are going to put their players or their product. I hate to say it as a product, but it's a product. I hate to say they're going to put their product in harm's way because this is what the public wants. The public wants us back out there, but I'm pretty sure 90% of the public, 95% of the public would want it to be under safe and healthy circumstances. That's one thing. Blake Snell aside, here's the problem with 50-50 revenue split, and I've heard this from many sources, both on pro owners and pro players. The problem is the baseball union is so strong as opposed to the other three major sports, basketball, football, and hockey, that the union is demanding that they see what the owners' books are. They don't know. The owners have never opened their books unless they've had labor stoppages before in the last 25, 30 years. Completely different scenario that we're in now, obviously. And I think maybe there should be a little bit more compromise on both sides. So that's a separate issue. But from the owner standpoint, and I don't know how agents got involved with it. I'm tired of Scott Boras making a blanket statement for the players. He's an agent. He's not a rep of the owners. He's not a rep of the teams. He's not a rep for the players union at all. But the agents seem to find themselves in the middle of it. And, God bless him, I guess, for somebody giving him a voice, but who the hell cares what he says? The problem is the owners do not open their books. So if you go to a 50-50 revenue share, they don't know if the actual money that they're showing or the actual money that they're showing them without divulging the rest of it. That's the problem that the players see. Is it 50% of what they're showing them? Is that the real figures, or are those fake numbers like some of those accounting firms that we know across the country that pull some shenanigans? So that's where I see the problem. As far as taking the money and run, or making the money and run for my podcast, but taking the money and run, I think they should. I think they should sign. I think a lot of goodwill goes a long way, not only with the public, but also within the confines of baseball itself. Because you know what this kind of confidence going back and forth between both parties would lead to. It would lead to a better understanding and better communication when the next collective bargaining agreement comes on, when there's no pandemic and the contract goes. So maybe they should just sign a 3-year CBA under different circumstances, and then maybe have an opt out a year and a half from now and have different options or renegotiate. But I would think a 3-year contract, and if the owners would open their books, I know they're losing a lot of money on this end of it if there's going to be no fans. But the problem is that from the players' side, they don't know exactly how much money they're losing. They don't know how much money is on the books for them to take 50%. They don't want to lose any money, even though it says 50% on the contract, Todd.
Well, those are great points. They are. And basically it comes down to a trust issue. And we've seen the players go on strike many times in Major League Baseball. This one here, like you said, would be a different circumstance. I think it would be a death sentence for Major League Baseball if the players and the owners can't get together, trust one another, and come to an agreement and play baseball if it's safe to play baseball this year, because the fans may not come back. If it's an issue for Major League Baseball that, they're not coming back because of the money. The fans would just go ape right now because there's a lot of people that are struggling to make ends meet out there, to pay their bills and et cetera. And if they can't come together, the millionaires and the billionaires, and not all the players are millionaires, by the way,
right.
the millionaires and billionaires can't come together and agree. And if they don't have a season because of the money, that's just awful. Now, if they don't have a season because it's not safe for the players to play, the public would understand.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, let's stick to the health and safety issue first. Obviously, none of these things are going to happen without the health and safety of players. No doubt about that. Players, executives, essential workers, everybody in the sense. So I had a couple of things that I noticed about. I don't know if you guys see Real Sports at all on HBO. I'll just tell you a real quick story here. A few weeks ago, I had heard through baseball, some of the baseball people that I know, that this company in Utah, this drug company in Utah that's contracted to do steroid testing and blood doping samples for Major League Baseball, they're contracted to do. That's where all the testing samples go to. Well, they're not doing anything, obviously, with no baseball. So what they did was they decided to contract with baseball to test all the employees that possible, full-time employees, essential employees, management players, managers, coaches, anybody that's involved in the organization on a day-to-day basis. So it came out to about 6,000 employees. And what their testing was, they found out was 60 people of the 6,000, roughly, about 1%, tested positive. So those are the numbers they're taking into in terms of determining how these seasons going to be laid out with the spring training coming up in June. I'm not worried about spring training. I almost said training camp because it's July and it's football, but spring training part 2 comes up in June, the middle of June. I don't care how long spring training goes. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they're going to have to ramp up again anyway because they just came to a dead stop in February in March. But that's a controlled environment. You've got your own people there. You've got essential people there. You can work out, you can throw, you can hit, you can do whatever you want. It's when other teams come in, it's when other team executives come in, other essential employees come in to other stadiums. That's where I get concerned. That's why I'm not sold on having them play in their own stadiums. I think that's a dumb move because every area is different. And that's the problem with this whole coronavirus thing. Is every area is different. Nobody can objectively say when this thing started. Nobody can say when the peak happened. And if we don't know when the peak happened, then it's hard to say when it's going to end. And that's the problem that I think that most people are losing sight of it. Will we like sports back? Will we like to have our lives back? Nobody more so than me, Todd. Nobody more so than me. I got to make the money and run podcasts with no games to talk about. Let me tell you how hard it is to find content on that. I'm lucky I have a team with Fox Sports. We have no games, so I'm not working on any games from that standpoint. But health and safety first. Spring training, yes, maybe training camps where you got a controlled environment. But until it's completely safe, I just think that you have to go from that standpoint. Millionaires and billionaires, people can't look at it from a money standpoint. It's such a way out topic, for lack of a better phrase, for regular people like you and I to discuss. It's just a matter of you have to look at it from a labor standpoint versus an employer standpoint. That's it. They're playing for their lives. The one thing that I will say about the player standpoint is, yeah, the owners are not going to make any money this year. There's going to be no fans. But from a player standpoint, and this is a big thing, and people don't understand it, for the most part, and you said it correctly, players' careers are short on the average. We're not talking about the upper 1% or the upper 2% of players in terms of salary. We're talking about the rank and file players. And so when that happens, people don't understand that you can go from age 28 to age 29, and you can lose it just like that. Players do not want to lose time. Players do not want to lose time, and I think that's the big thing. I think that's why everybody's chomping at the bit from the player side. I've heard many players say that they want to go back out and play because you don't know. Like Mookie Betts is a free agent. And granted, he's the top 2%er, but he's 29, and you don't know what's going to happen at age 30. You could lose it just like that. There's no guarantee that you're ever going to get it back with time off, and I think that's what a lot of the rank and file players are worried about. That this laid off time, you just don't know how you're going to recover your skill that you worked on 12 months a year now with salaries the way they are. They can work at it 12 months a year, not have to worry about off-season jobs. So I think from a player standpoint, there's some concern. I think from the owner standpoint, there's some concern because they're going to lose a lot of money. From my standpoint, we're not covering baseball. I have extra innings at home, so I'm fine with them being on TV. I'm fine with no fans there. In fact, I told our mutual friends here, I was going to print a T-shirt for 2020 Unprecedented times call for unprecedented measures, and nobody's as traditional as I am about baseball. I played baseball all through college. Baseball is my number one sport growing up. So baseball to me is the number one sport. 162 games, 9 innings, seventh inning stretch, beer and hot dog, etc. Not when I was playing, but when as a fan. But just want to make sure I got that clear. My first time on. I don't want to exclude anybody right now. My first time on Atlanta Prime Sports here. But the bottom line is, I'm as traditional as anybody. But when it comes to unprecedented times, worldly events like this, we have to think about what we can do, and we can make it a shortened season. They've gone through strike seasons before with 110 games, with 120 games. I think 1995 they did start the season on time. After the 94 player strike, they still were going into April before. I think it didn't start till the end of April. So I just think that unprecedented times call for unprecedented measures. And I have ideas. One more thing, Todd. I'm sorry. One more thing. I saw
go ahead.
I saw where the owners came out with the plan on Monday. Those are the plans that I talked about for 3 weeks ago, about a shortened schedule, about a universal DH, about expanded rosters. I've been calling for expanded rosters in April versus September. And I think if you have expanded rosters all year, this taxi squad idea, I think, could be an idea for the future, because when September rolls around, you have 40 guys on the bench. I think you should have 40 guys all year and just have a 25-man roster you designate every day, so that you don't have to worry about playing 40 guys and these games are dragging so long in September, especially for teams that are not in the race. I think it's dumb to have 40 guys on the bench. It totally changes the rule in September than it does for the whole season. Now, that's a rules thing. That's not a 2020 thing. But whatever they want to do for 2020, I'm all for, because, we want it back, not at the expense of safety and health, but we want it back. But I think for this time period in this year that we should. And if there's anything that comes out of it in the future that improves the game, baseball is going to be long after we're gone, long after our grandparents are gone. It's always going to be here. I mean, Willie Mays doesn't play anymore. Babe Ruth doesn't play anymore. Now we've got Mike Trout. Mike Trout's not going to play someday, but baseball will be there. And so whatever can help the game progress, I'm all for. I used to not be that way, but I'm all for it now that I've gotten older and wiser, allegedly.
Myself too, and I agree with a lot of your points there. We've got to have the season, and if there's a DH and et cetera. But you brought up a point that was interesting, so I'll skip ahead and go to this question.
Right.
Which MLB proposal do you like better? The one where the players would play in spring training sites in Arizona and Florida, or playing in home stadiums? The reason, to me, they're going to home stadiums is for the owners and the advertising money that's in their own stadium. You can see it behind plate. You can see it all over the stadium. Where in spring training, the owners are not going to get their own advertising money like they would in their own stadiums. Myself, I like the proposal first, that they would play in spring training games. They wouldn't have to travel. You could isolate the players better in a hotel. I know they would miss their families, but I think their risk of infection would be a lot less. What do you think?
I totally agree with you. I think the less that we can travel, like I said in the beginning, we don't know when this thing started. There's no date on when this thing peaked, and it's different in all areas. And going back to the testing that the Utah firm did, you're talking about a diverse group of people from different backgrounds and ethnicities, as well as different regions. So if you can test it and you can come to some kind of objective opinion and not put anybody in danger, then I think the best thing to do for 2020 is to put everybody in one site. So the plan that I heard was Arizona and Florida, and then maybe have the playoffs in Texas, at that new baseball field in Texas, where they could treat it like a Super Bowl year. Treat it where you have like a week's worth of parties and a week's worth of events. And if people want to go to the events, if it's safe enough for people to go to the events, then wouldn't that be great to have a World Series or an LCS similar to a Super Bowl, where people would be there in one city and they could see all the games at the same time? I think that'd be great. I think that'd be great. Not forever, but I think it'd be great for this year. And what they're trying to do is, and I really got a feeling, talking to people, that I really got a feeling that baseball, everything I say is that not at the expense of health and safety. So I'm not going to say that anymore. But okay. I think baseball wants to be. I think baseball wants to be back first. I think they know they've lost some viewership. I know that they want to get the young demographic. So one of the proposals that was on the list of the owners' deal was the 82 game schedule. Well, I said I don't understand why they just don't play three divisions, 10 teams in each division, and play everybody in the division for your entire season. Can you imagine if you play, like, let's say where you live in Atlanta, if you play the Phillies 19 times a year ordinarily, by the time game 15 rolls around with all the breaks in the season, and then you come back and see them in August and September, they're already still mad at each other. My idea was, if you want to get people back and get the vitriol going and get the anger going towards your rival, why not just play all 19 games straight against each of your division teams? That way you have less travel. So the first 10 games, whoever has the 10 home games, they play 10 games straight, take a couple of days off, and then play 9 games against that same team. Can you imagine what game 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19 would be if you've seen those guys for 15 straight days? Wouldn't that be unbelievable baseball? Because not only is it a division game, it's your rival. I mean, granted, you got Philly, New York, Washington, but just take your division games and play them 19. Forget moving them around. Just play the 19 games against each team. Go to the next team, play 19 games. Go to the next, and then you have 3 wild cards, and then you'd have your 6 teams or 7 teams, whatever they want to have in the playoffs. And I think that'd be unbelievable. And then you could recreate those rivalries. You could recreate the angst amongst the teams. I think for where I live in California, I'm a Dodgers fan, living in Northern California. Boy, if I saw the Dodgers and Giants 19 times straight, I would hate the other guys too. And I know guys on both teams, and I know people in both organizations.
Right. You would see probably more baseball brawls than you would during the regular season. Let me ask you this: you're listening to Vasu about a party, who has a podcast, an informative one, Make the Money and Run. Let's you just talked about use of home stadiums in areas. To me, this is the problem, is that you have problems with the local and state government approval. You live in California, like you said. This, to me, is a huge problem for the Dodgers, the Giants, the A's, and the Padres. I mean, the Angels, A's, and Padres. Where are they going to play if the local government or the governor's not going to let them play in that state? Are they going to have to go to the spring training sites in Arizona and play anyhow?
Yeah.
To me, that's just a huge problem. That's why I thought the spring training sites were a much better idea to begin with. Let me ask you this: how possible is it that the conflict, and answer this kind of quickly if you can, how possible is it that conflict between the players and the owners over money could derail this Major League Baseball season? What percentage do you put that at?
I put it at less than 50%. I think everybody knows what the circumstances are. I think that's a lot of just brandish talk by Scott Boras and other people that are talking about the money aspect. I think most reasonable people realize that money's not the issue. I think they just want. I think everybody wants, even regarding the coronavirus and politics and everything. I think everybody wants transparency, and I think if there's transparency involved in the negotiations, I think it'll come to a faster conclusion, and we can get this thing going. Baseball would love the season to start right around July 4th. Can you imagine a holiday with opening day, either with the All-Star game or opening day on July 4th, 10 games? It'd be a dream, and I think we can. I think we can get there.
Me too. I agree with you. Let's switch over from baseball to football to the National Football League. The league has really done well this year. I think it's had a really good offseason led by Roger Goodell. They've done everything right with the free agency, the draft, the virtual offsite training program. Do you think the NFL season will start on time? And do you think we'll have an NFL season? Because, again, you're going to have we could have potentially stadium issues on each side of the coast, with the East Coast, with the New York teams in Boston, and Philadelphia, and et cetera, and on the West Coast teams in California. To me, this could be a problem for the NFL. They may have to play games in neutral sites.
It could be a problem. I don't know. It's so far out right now. I think
it's so far out, right?
May, June, and July and August right now. They have to get through training camp. I kind of jokingly joke about the NFL as being the Tin Man, because sometimes I think they have no heart because they're going through their regular season year where they're just doing everything the way they want to do it. Granted, they are being safe and sound with the draft. They're going to get the ratings. NFL football is a lot different than college football from a standpoint of TV. Everybody that I know, I'm sure a lot of people have Sunday Ticket, and I think Sunday Ticket would benefit from this. I think people being at home would benefit from this. I'm pretty sure that not having people in stands, pro football is probably the least affected from people being in the stands than they are in the other 3 sports, because there's only 10 games, if you include the preseason games, that they're losing revenue out. Their stadiums are being used for other things. Now, they may be losing money on concerts and other venues that they have, but they're getting that NFL money from DirecTV. They're getting the network money from CBS, Fox, NBC, and ESPN. I think the not having the fans is going to be less of a problem for the NFL than it would be for the other three sports. From a standpoint of playing, God, that's hard to say right now, Todd, because we don't know. We don't know what the circumstances are. We still don't know when things are going to get back to normal. The Los Angeles mayor had said that he didn't want any games being played until 2021 down there. I'm not sure that that's going to be the case. I think the leagues, I think if they can prove, if the science can come through and prove how serious this is or how threatening it would be without fans under certain circumstances, that it could happen. But that part's all up in the air. Right now, I'm just thinking about baseball. And football, yeah, I love football and I love basketball and I love hockey. Hopefully basketball and hockey will get back going here in the next few weeks with the playoffs. I don't think they need to restart the regular season for that. As far as football goes, that's still down the road. College football-wise, if they're not going to let students on campus, then I don't think they should let the players on campus either, because I think that they're not getting paid and this is not their job. So I think that's a different animal we're talking about between the NFL and college football. But from an NFL standpoint, I think not having fans, they can work out stadium issues as long as Sunday Ticket works and CBS and NBC and Fox and ESPN can televise. I think that would definitely be a step in the right direction, probably even closer to the solution than just another step in the right direction.
Well, the only one problem, I do think the NFL does need fans in the stands, because the NFL teams did agree to raise their debt limits to $150 million for each club. And also, when I read an article, the NFL would lose $138 million each.
But that's only for 1 year, Todd. But that's only for 1 year. Everybody's got to make adjustments for this year.
No, I know what I was saying is they'll lose $138 million in revenue from tickets and game day spending for each week playing without fans. That a full season without fans could cost the league nearly $2.3 billion. It is a problem. I get where you're saying it's only for 1 year, but it would hit the owners in the pockets and the players. It would eventually trickle down to the players.
I think they make it back in 2021. I think they make it back in 2021. I think everybody knows what we're going through in 2020, and I think the money part of it, the money part of it is very, very big, and nobody wants to lose money. I mean, we're all out of work, and we're all doing whatever we can to make money and support our families and all that. But I think 1 year. I mean, the league is a hundreds of billions of dollar league. For them to lose one season, I don't think would be that. It's definitely adverse. There's no doubt it's an adverse topic to the owners and to the Players Association as well too. But I think for one season, I think they can pipe crowd noise in too. I don't know if you saw that story. Piping crowd noise in to get the home field advantage. Yes, I did. Saw that from
Joe
I actually like that. I actually like that. I think he made that comment. Joe made that comment a few days ago, and I think it's not bad. They used to do it for TV shows. That's if you get to games, then that's a separate thing we can talk about. But I think for 1 year for the NFL, most of these guys are billionaires anyway, or multi-millionaires over and over. Sure. That one season may not affect them as much, and certainly you can make it back on the back end, depending on what the new CBA is and depending on what the new TV contracts are going to be. The TV contracts are going to be up in about 2 years, I think. So they can make that money back up on the TV and the internet side as well. Too.
That's a lot of uncertainty. You never know. I know that Panthers owner David Tepper, he violated the quote-unquote NFL silence policy from Commissioner Roger Goodell, saying not only will there be a season, but eventually during the season, we'll have fans, we'll have enough tests. But, A, should it be spoken out? B, I'm going to add to that. I think even if we don't have fans, these NFL teams will have suites open. They'll have to social distance in the suite, but they'll be open because that's money for the owners. Your thoughts on those two things?
Well, yeah, if you're talking about fans going into a stadium and sitting in regular seats, that's one thing. But the suites, yeah, they can make that money back on the suites. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
Because those suites are expensive. So if you social distance in the suites, then yeah, sure, in that case. I'm not sure what David Tepper's motivation was to speak out. We're all going through a rough time with the coronavirus. I'm not sure.
Right.
I'm not sure. I don't know if he's so far up in the clouds with his money that he doesn't realize that there's regular people that are listening to this, and the fact that he would make a statement like that as if it's like the most important thing in the world, compared to what's going on out there in the world. For him to make a statement like that the NFL is so important that they're going to be back, I think somebody in his PR team, somebody in his marketing team really needs to sit down with him and have a conversation for about a half an hour and go like, you can't do this, you can't say this, you can't do this, because nobody will care how much money you're losing when you're sitting on top of the clouds with hundreds of $1 billion and you're talking about your pro football team, and we're trying to feed our families here.
Our guest today is Vasu Vadaparty, who has an informative podcast. I love using that word. Making the money and make the money and
I'm
run.
going to use that word.
You can do whatever you want. You know what? And speaking of making the money, we'll have a fun question after. We'll have two fun questions after this one. This one here concerns Dak Prescott's contract. The longer Dak waits in this economic climate, the less money he's going to get from the Cowboys. Is that a fair statement? And A, and B, he should just continue to sign. He should sign the franchise tag if he can't get the long-term deal and Kirk Cousins them to death and then become a free agent. What would you do if you were Dak?
Well, you don't have to sign a franchise tag until July, so I would definitely keep talking with the Cowboys. Once you sign it, then you're obligated to it. I'm not sure if the Cowboys – I'll give Jerry Jones credit and the Cowboys organization credit for one thing, is that they're not playing their hand. They signed Andy Dalton. I'm not sure if Andy Dalton would be an adequate replacement for Dak Prescott. I like Andy Dalton. I think he just got a bad rap the last few years in Cincinnati, but I don't think he's Dak Prescott. I don't think anybody thinks that he's Dak Prescott. But if Dak Prescott wants $30 to $35 million a year, and he's having a tough time negotiating with it, he's going to get $31 million under a franchise tag. So he should. So when July rolls around, if they haven't come to a negotiation, I can understand why you want long term, especially in football. Like I was talking about baseball, you don't know from one year to the other if you're going to have it or not. And the difference with football is, and you know this as well as anybody, Todd, is that when you get cut, you don't get any of that money. So you get as much of the money as you can, guaranteed. And if he doesn't play well, who's to say that Jerry Jones can't cut him at the end of the year? I think he's playing it right. I think if he doesn't have to sign anything until July, don't sign it. Well, why limit yourself right now until you absolutely have to?
Well, I tell you what, we're going to find out. You know, somebody made the comment today. I heard it just when I was walking by the television. You know, in the comment with the question or comment, it could be a question, I guess, or a comment. Think if you're an NFL team and you need the money, what do? Do you let the fans in and not worry about the social guidelines, if there are any at that time? Because you look at all around the world, you've got a guy in Owasso, Michigan, who's 77-year-old. He's a barber, and you know the state's not letting him do this and that, and they're not letting him open his business, and he's opening anyway. And he's got people driving from all over the state of Michigan to go get their hair cut and go back home. You got people with money flying in from out of state going to his barber shop. Do you think the NFL, if they were desperate enough and they knew the fans would come in, they'd let them in the stands? If the fans signed a clause that, hey, you can't sue us. What do you think of something like that?
Boy, that's apples and oranges, though. You're talking about a 77-year-old barber trying to make a living, and the NFL teams that already have this kind of money.
Right.
I don't think unless there's scientific proof, I wouldn't let people in the stadium until all the other sports do that. I think that's a dumb move. I think you get enough money from TV. But I think I might fly that guy from Michigan out to California to get my haircut, though.
I tell you what, I'm from Michigan. I'm just down the road from Owasso. And I'm telling you, if I'm there this summer, I am going to get my hair cut there because my hair has never been so long. So, I mean, I got ill in November. I got very ill, and I was in the hospital for over a week. And then I didn't have my hair cut for a long time. And then I did get my hair cut, and I've only had it cut once since November. And when wife sees me here soon, she's really going to be shocked to see me. So you just like, I mean, hey, you got to have a little laughter here with this, because if you don't, you go crazy.
You have to.
Let's have a little fun with this, because the other stuff wears me out. There's the rumor that Cam Newton could go to the Patriots. Can Cam Newton and Bill Belichick coexist? I think they can. Your thoughts?
I think they can if they really want to. I'm not sure initially that that's a good idea. I'm sure that Bill Belichick probably thinks he can turn Jarrett Stidham into the next Tom Brady because he did that. Or I don't know if he actually did it, but Bill Belichick's also an under 500 quarterback in games that Tom Brady did not play in. So we don't know if it's really the coach or the quarterback or the coach. So if Cam Newton goes there, I'm sure they'd have some kind of design. Josh McDaniels would probably have some kind of design for him to play. I thought Andy Dalton, I'm sure you probably did too. I thought Andy Dalton was going to be there this fall, and I thought they were going to turn Andy Dalton into something. But I'm not so sure New England's the best place for Cam. But if he had to go there, it's not a bad place to go, I guess, with the history that they have.
That rumor came out today, and I'm thinking you want Cam to come in, fight for the job. You can get him at a bottom basement dollar for what he.
Yeah, that's the only reason. That's the only way I'd do it. Yeah, that's the only way I'd do it. Because
I was going to say Cam's issues are not on the field. They're not with coaches. They're not with players. They're usually at a press conference. He seems to get along with his teammates. They all seem to play hard for him. So right. I think, look at Bill Belichick has taken many chances. Goodness gracious. He just took a chance on the receiver from Pittsburgh. I mean, I wouldn't have taken that chance, but he did, and Tom Brady wanted him too. So, who knows?
Well, he's got a lot of equity. He's got a lot of equity with the fans because of the 6 championships. So he can make moves like that, and if it doesn't work out, he gets out. But and he may. I just remember Cam Newton when he was out here in the Bay Area for the Super Bowl. There were a lot of moments in the post-game press conference. Kind of showed the other side of Cam when they lost the Broncos that year. He comes off as a petulant kid, and maybe that's probably the part of the press conferences that I see that probably do not want me or somebody like me to deal with him. And I don't know if Belichick could handle the petulalism of a Cam Newton. And I think that's probably the only thing that's questionable from that standpoint. If he had a talk with him and sat him down and said that we don't let our players talk as much, we don't do this, we don't do that. If Cam goes along with the program, then maybe that would be something there. But it'd be very interesting to see. I mean, I can't wait till we get back to regular questions like this, Todd.
I can't neither. I had to ask him because this other stuff is driving me crazy. Randy Moss, he got along. I mean, they've had their players in there that have gotten along, and so we'll see how it works out. Let's go ahead and go to this one here. This one surprised me today. Falcons offensive coordinator Dirk Cutter. Matter of fact, this is his second stint as the Falcons OC here in the ATL. He said Gurley's durability could be an issue. And I thought to myself, the Falcons knew the risk in spring training when they signed Todd Gurley. They were willing to sign him at a certain price to accept that risk, and now they're going to take their chances. We'll see what happens. What do you think? You're out in California. You're up the coast from LA. What do you think about the Falcons taking the low money chance to go ahead and sign Gurley? I mean, obviously it's a risk. They could have went for a young running back and Smart here from UGA. They could have went and got him instead. They took the other risk and filled other areas on defense. What do you think of all that? What do you think of that statement too?
Well, I think filling their defense was probably the better move for them anyway to begin with. I saw them when they were out here in Santa Clara when they played the 49ers and had to come back win against the 49ers. Their defense looked okay that day. I think the 49ers were tired toward the end of the year, and I think that probably helped Atlanta win that game. But they had trouble rushing the passer in the last few games that I saw. So I think defense, clearly Dan Quinn's forte is defense. Taking Todd Gurley, I mean, for 3 years, Todd Gurley was my first-round fantasy football pick. So I know what he can do and what he can't do. Not last year he wasn't. I couldn't get him last year. But I didn't know. But that goes back to what I said earlier about how fast a drop-off can happen. And the injuries finally caught up to him. And he's still a relatively young man. If he can get healthy, and they've got other running backs there, he doesn't have to carry the ball 25 or 30 times now. He can still be very effective. I think he still has the speed. I know he's got some of the power still. The speed may be gone a little bit, but he's got some of the power, and he certainly can complement a two-person, a fullback, and 3 running back backfield tandem where they can all get 800 to 1,000 yards, and that would make Matt Ryan's job a lot easier on offense. And if they can do that and control the ball a little bit better than they did last year, then they can take it easy a little bit on the defense, because I know the defense was on the field a lot last year, and I know Dan Quinn's job was on the line. And then what did they do? Go 5 out of 6 or 5 out of 7 to close out the year last year, and they played really good football.
Yeah, they went 6 out of 8 actually. Yeah, they
6
went
out of 8. Right, I knew they only had
right.
2 losses.
Right, 6 and 2 down the
point,
stretch.
So.
Right, that's a great point. And Dante Fowler to me was the biggest acquisition they made because he is on the defensive end of the ball. Hopefully, he can give them a pass rush, and the team can go ahead and keep up with Tampa Bay and New Orleans because that division is going to be lights out. What'd you think of the acquisition of Dante Fowler?
I love Dante Fowler. I saw him play with the Rams a lot. He can rush the passer. He's very underrated at covering tight ends and running backs out of the backfield. I think he played the games that I saw, and I get to watch a lot of the games on TV. I tape all the games. Don't ask me why I tape all the games. I just tape them and watch them during the week.
Me too.
That's kind of how I am. That's kind of by the way, for your listeners down there in the Southeast and all over on Stables Network, I will divulge. I am a Chicago Bears fan. Haven't been born
That's
in Chicago,
okay.
so if you want, I know it's okay. I'm not changing for the South. I'm not changing for the Southeast. Don't worry about that. I'm telling you that I'm a Chicago Bears fan. So.
Well, I'm a Lions fan. I grew up as a season ticket holder, and let me tell you, man, you got to have an iron stomach to be a Lions fan. I loved watching Roger Staubach and Terry Bradshaw, Pittsburgh and Dallas when I was a kid. I loved those teams, and I ended up marrying a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Their family, they waved the terrible towels during the game. So, I get all that aspect, but I do root for the Falcons since I'm here. And I just thought to me, like you and I agree, Dante Fowler to me is going to be critical for them because I don't care how good your linebackers, your secondary are. If you can't get to the quarterback, you can't cover him for long, and you're in big trouble.
No doubt about it. That's the whole point. I think that was their problem for the first 8 games. I think once they changed their defensive scheme, I believe Dan Quinn started calling the defense in the last 8 games, and clearly they look like the Super Bowl defense for that 6-2 stretch. And the offense may not have been what it was during the Super Bowl year, but certainly a 6-2 run to end the year certainly helped Dan Quinn. I mean, he's still the coach, so clearly he didn't get fired. I just saw the Dirk Cutter comments. They just popped up on the bottom line here on my TV. He said the skills are all there. It just said the knee is probably what they're worried about. How often can he do it? So I think that's what everybody's question is, and that can happen to any running back at any time in any part of his career. So he's still got all the talent. I think it's a good move, and I think him being back near his alma mater, I think probably gives him a little bit more juice. The fact that he's used to that area and he's back in the Southeast where he's familiar. So Atlanta could be a surprise in that division with New Orleans.
It could.
I'm not sold on Tampa Bay's defense yet, even though they've got Brady and Gronkowski and a terrific offense. But I'm not sold on their defense yet, and I want to see what Tampa Bay can do from a defensive standpoint. So we'll see what Bruce Arians and his staff has likely for that. And then Tampa Bay, Carolina, they got a new coach. I love McCaffrey. Unless he does everything for that team, I'm not sure where they're going to be. But Teddy Bridgewater was 5-0 with the Saints last year, so I think that's an underrated pick, and I think that NFC South is going to be a very tough division. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 10-6 or 11-5 division winning division this coming year.
Here's a crazy thought: 7-9 could be in last place. Think about that.
Right.
That's how.
There have been years where that's happened too.
Division's going to be, huh?
There have been years where that's happened too. No doubt about it.
I like the division. I think it could be the toughest in the NFL. We'll find out. I'm going to leave you with this. You mentioned your college football opinion that if you can't have, students on campus, you shouldn't have football. Here's something from the opposite end of the spectrum. This will be the last question / comment of the day.
Sure.
I don't know what to say about this. This made me shake my head, but when I saw it, I said, I got to tell you it. West Virginia school president Gordon Gee, quote unquote, I don't believe this, I'm reading it. There will be a football season this fall, even if I have to suit up myself. I don't know what to say with that. I don't know what to do with that. I thought that was mentally irregular.
Yeah. You know what I think about it?
What?
I'll find out what the point spreads are on West Virginia's game and bet against West Virginia if he's season up.
And if you see him suit up, you know that West Virginia is not going to cover.
That's correct. That is correct. You're reading my mind, Todd.
I just had to end it with that. It was too good. Vasu, thanks so much for coming on again and coming on the show. And I've got to come on your podcast, Making the Money Down the Line, or any other show you have. Let me know. I'd be glad to join you. The organization that I do college football for, D2, which is the SIAC conference. I do play-by-play. They've also added another conference, the Gulf South Conference, this year. But we've already had some scheduling conflicts from what I know. And it's like, man, this is changing by the day. And all I can say is stay tuned, because nobody really has any concrete answers. I think the best sport to do this with, the most social distancing sport we have, is baseball. And that's the one that I'm most concerned with, because it's the here and the now.
Right, exactly. We got to work on what's going on now, because you can't predict the future. I mean, if we could predict the future, we'd all be millionaires and living the luxury lives right now if we could predict the future. But I appreciate the time, Todd. Thank you for Thank you for the Vine. Thank you for welcoming to the Stables Network family. I will look forward to doing many more shows within the network and outside of the network with you. And stay safe, stay healthy, and we will do it again sometime very soon.
You take care, and thank you for coming on today. I really appreciate it. You were fantastic. That's Vasu Vadaparty with an informative podcast, Make the Money and Run. He also does baseball and college football and basketball work for Fox Sports, and I really enjoyed my conversation with him today. That's it for the ATL Prime Sports Week. Next week we'll be on it Tuesday at 4 p.m., same time, same channel. Listeners, thank you for listening, and stay safe. Have a great day. Bye now.